The Fort de Liers is one of 12 forts built as part of the fortifications of Liège in the late 19th century in Belgium. It was built between 1881 and 1884 according to the plans of General Henri Alexis Brialmont, contrasting with the French forts built in the same era by Raymond, Adolphe, Rivières. The fort was built exclusively of unreinforced concrete, a new material rather than masonry. The fort was heavily bombarded by German artillery in the Battle of Liège. Liers was never upgraded like the other forts of Liège. It is now used as a test site for aircraft engines and is not accessible to the public. Description: the Fort de Liers is located about 6.5 kilometers north of the center of Liège, near Liers. One of the smaller Liège forts, Liers forms an isosceles triangle. A 6-meter deep by 8-meter ditch encircles the fort. The principal armament was concentrated in the central massif. The ditches were defended and enfiladed by 57 mm guns in casemates resembling counterscarp batteries, firing at shot traps at the other end of the ditch. With the exception of the Fort de Liers, the Belgian forts made little provision for the daily needs of the wartime garrisons, locating latrines, showers, kitchens and a morgue in the fort's counterscarp, a location that would be untenable in combat. This would have profound effects on the fort's ability to endure a long assault. The service areas were placed directly opposite the barracks, which opened into the ditch in the rear of the fort, with lesser protection than the two salient sides. The Brialmont forts placed a weaker side to the rear to allow for recapture by Belgian forces from the rear, and located the barracks and support facilities on this side, using the rear ditch for light and ventilation of living spaces. In combat, heavy shell fire made the rear ditch untenable, and German forces were able to get between the forts and attack them from the rear. The Brialmont forts were designed to be protected from shellfire, equaling the heaviest guns, 21 centimeters. The top of the central massif used 4 meters of unreinforced concrete, while the caserne walls, judged to be less exposed, used 1.5 meters. Under fire, the forts were damaged by 21 centimeters fire and could not withstand heavier artillery. Armament. Liers' armament included a turret with a single 21 centimeters gun, a 15 centimeters turret with twin guns and a 12 centimeters turret with 2 guns, all for distant targets. 57 mm gun turrets were provided for local defense. The fort also mounted an observation turret with a searchlight. Rapid-fire 57 mm guns were provided in casemates for the defense of the ditches, as well as in turrets. The fort's heavy guns were German, typically Krupp, while the turret mechanisms were from a variety of sources. The fort was provided with signal lights to permit communication with the neighboring Fort de Liers. The guns were fired using black powder rather than smokeless powder, producing choking gas in the confined firing spaces that spread throughout the fort. First World War. Liège first came under attack on 6 August 1914. When the Liège's fortifications proved unexpectedly stubborn, the Germans brought heavy siege artillery to bombard the forts with shells far larger than they were designed to resist. Liège was heavily bombarded starting the 13th of August. Liège's neighbor, the Fort de Pontis, surrendered the same day, allowing the Germans to concentrate on Liège, firing from the fort's vulnerable rear. Liège surrendered on the 14th, with the interior of the fort uninhabitable due to dust, gun gas and sewage. Second World War. Liège was not upgraded in the 1930s as part of the fortified position of Liège. The Belgian army used the fort to store munitions. Post-war and present. Following the war, the Fort de Liers was sold by the military to Fabrique Nationale for £1 in 1949, FN eventually becoming Texbase Aero. The fort is used as a testing area of aircraft engines by Texbase Aero, whose plant adjoins the fort, and is not accessible to the public. The fort's shape remains discernible, with sound control ducting closely adjoining the central massif of the fort. Bibliography. Donald Clayton, The Forts of the Meuse in World War I. Osprey Publishing, Oxford, 2007. ISBN 9781846031144. Kaufman, J. E. Jurger, R. Fortress Europe, European Fortifications of World War II, Da Capo Press, USA, 2002, ISBN 0-306-81174-X.